In a world that feels more and more complicated every single day, how do you find any kind of real clarity? Well, we're going to look for answers in a pretty surprising place, some of the oldest Buddhist texts ever written down. We're going to see if 2,500-year-old wisdom can actually teach our modern minds a thing or two.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a question that really gets to the heart of all of this. What if the biggest thing standing in the way of your own happiness is actually you? What if we've been looking in all the wrong places and the real barrier is inside our own minds? So, where are we getting all this from? We're diving into two incredible texts, the Udana and the Suta Nipata. And look, these aren't just dusty old documents. They're believed to hold some of the Buddha's very first talks, and they tackle problems that, you'll see, are just as real for us today.
And that is the absolute key right there. This wasn't some gentle, quiet philosophy meant only for monks meditating on a mountaintop. No way. These teachings were revolutionary. They were social dynamite. They took everything people just accepted as true and flipped it completely upside down.
So how'd they do that? Well, for starters, they went after the biggest idea of all, what actually makes a person worthy or noble. This was a direct shot at the rigid social hierarchy of their time. This is such a fascinating contrast. On the one hand, you have the old belief system. Your value was basically set in stone the moment you were born. It was all about your family, your caste, and whether you did the right rituals. But then the Buddha comes along with this totally radical idea. He says, nope, none of that matters. Your real worth, your inner purity, comes from your actions and your intentions. It's not fixed. You define it every single day.
And boom, this quote just lays it all out there. In one sentence, it basically dismantles the entire caste system. It's not about who your parents were. It's about who you choose to be through your actions. This created a kind of spiritual meritocracy, totally open to anyone, no matter where they came from. Okay, so if our worth comes from our deeds and our intentions, where does that stuff even come from? Well, the texts tell us to stop looking outside. They point us inward, to the one and only place where real change can actually happen. Our own mind.
Wow. Just think about that for a second. We spend so much energy worrying about what other people might do to us, right? But this teaching says the worst damage, the deepest cuts, often come from our own out-of-control thoughts. Your mind can literally be your own worst enemy. Or, if you train it, your most powerful friend.
So, how do you train it? The Udana gives us this incredibly profound but simple-sounding instruction. In the seen, there is only the seen. What does that actually mean? It means learning to experience reality without adding your own story on top of it. You see a tree and you just see the tree, without immediately thinking, oh, I need to trim my hedges, or I don't like that kind of tree. You just let it be what it is. You experience the raw data of life, without judgment.
And the payoff for that kind of practice, it's huge. Because when you can just for a moment take the you, the ego, the storyteller, out of the equation, something amazing happens. You find a state that's beyond our usual ideas of here or there. A state that the text calls simply the end of stress. But here's the thing. This kind of deep internal work, it doesn't just happen in a bubble. It is massively influenced by the people we choose to surround ourselves with. And that brings us to a really crucial point. Get this. This is one of those ideas that should really make you stop and think. Having good friends on the path isn't just a part of the journey, it's the whole thing. The texts are crystal clear on this. The people in your life will either lift you up or they will pull you down. It's that serious. The Suta Nipata really lays it on the line here. It says if you find a wise, true companion, walk with them, absolutely. But if you can't, it's better to walk alone. The text even points out, with this kind of timeless insight, that friends without their own hidden motives are hard to come by, because most people are just looking out for themselves. Sometimes solitude is the smarter, safer path. All right, so where is all of this going? This rewriting of what makes us worthy, this intense training of the mind, this very careful choosing of our friends, it's all pointing toward one ultimate goal, a final, total liberation that the texts call nibbana. So what is nibbana? Well, it's described as the complete and total end of craving, that relentless engine that drives all our stress and dissatisfaction. It's an escape from what the Udana calls the conditioned world. You know, that endless, exhausting cycle of cause and effect, birth and death, that pretty much defines our normal lives? Sometimes the best way to describe something is to say what it isn't. And that's exactly what the texts do here. And it is seriously mind-bending. This state has no earth, no water, no sun, no moon, no coming, no going. It's totally outside of every single concept we use to make sense of the world. The point is to show us that this liberation is something completely beyond our ordinary experience.
And this might be the most powerful and hopeful line in the entire text. It's a declaration. It says that this unconditioned state, this not born, is real. It actually exists. And because it exists, an escape from all the stress and suffering of our conditioned lives is genuinely possible for every single one of us. So we're left with this incredible metaphor. Think about it. So many of us spend our entire lives just building the raft. We're planning it, perfecting it, debating the best kind of wood to use, all in preparation to one day cross the river of suffering. But the wise? The text says they're already on the other side. They just started crossing. So the question these ancient teachings leave for you and me is a really simple one. What raft are you so busy building, and when are you finally going to start paddling?